living rooms all over the country, there are people talking about this situation with Rihanna and Chris Brown, including one blogger who decided to take the news media on, specifically me, for yesterday bringing this story and reading aloud the affidavit that was filed by police, which was released just before we went on the air. Here we go. It's from needfortruth.blogspot. This is what it says, and I think we've got that. I think we can put that up if you possibly have it, and we'll share with you some of the information that he seems to write. He said that's a real underlying tone of CNN. Pardon me, let me take it from the top. CNN has begun the indictment unbalanced and unchallenged. The world will soon be inundated with the case of N-word, who almost killed a white-looking woman. That's the real underlying tone of CNN and Rick Sanchez's irresponsible one-sided report. It was designed to help convict Chris Brown of the maximum sentence, which in the past was a public lynching and then burning. All right, there you have it. I could go on and read the whole thing, but it goes on for quite a little bit. By the way, we invited that blogger to be on the show and actually make his charge, and he refused to do so. Joining us now is Professor Boyce Watkins of Syracuse University. He writes about racism in America. There's a big tussle going on in our country about this case. And I know a lot of people have been hesitant to write about it or even cover it. And some people say this is a very kind of tabloid story. But what I'm reading on the social networks and from people all over is that a lot of people find this to be a very important story. Do you think what we did by following up on this story yesterday was wrong?
No, I don't feel that it's wrong. Now, I am the first one to help America understand that, you know, when there is an opportunity to vilify a black male athlete or entertainer, we usually jump on that, and that's something we have to think about. But we have to realize that this relationship really transcended race. I mean, the same way you had Brangelina with a nickname with their relationship, where there was also Kriana, and there's a website, Kriana.com, that only talked about Chris and Rihanna's relationship. So this situation was far bigger than race, and this particular incident was about love and life and gender. I have 5 godkids, Rick, who would pay money to wash Chris Brown's dirty socks. I mean, they love him that much. And what I had to talk to them about is to help them understand that if a man loves you, he's not going to put his hands on you, that violence has no place in a relationship. And I say all that not to vilify Chris Brown, because the boy's 19 years old. You got to remember that. He's not a monster. He's not beyond repair.
That's a very important point. That doesn't mean, look, you and I were probably hotheads when we were his age, or certainly a lot more hotheads than we are today. At least I plead guilty to that, all right? I had schoolyard fights. Obviously, there's a big difference between being a hothead and getting in a fight with a friend and hitting a woman, as he is alleged to have done. Let me take you back to the original premise here, and the charge that at least one blogger has made. There may be others. Is it racist for the media to be covering this story because Chris Brown is black?
No, I don't think it's racist to cover the story, because if Brad Pitt were to punch out Angelina Jolie, we'd be talking about it for the next 30 years. What I want us to be careful about, though, is to understand that this story is not about Chris Brown. Domestic violence occurs in many families across the country and many ethnicities, and the reason I jumped on this story was not because of the pop culture aspect of it, but because I've had friends who have seen relatives killed in domestic violence situations. One of my very good friends was murdered by her husband in a murder-suicide. Her young children are now orphans because of this. I have another friend whose husband burned her mother alive because of, you know, and she called the police several times that day. So what I'm saying is I'm reaching out right now to all the women that are terrorized by their mates, who are afraid to reach out, who are afraid to tell somebody, and I'm saying reach out and communicate, because violence has no place in a relationship. But this is not about vilifying Chris Brown, because he's not beyond repair. He needs to pay a price for what he did, absolutely, but he's 19 years old. Make sure we don't forget that.
That's important. You're absolutely right. Well, we've got people all over the country been talking about this. When I came in today and I was doing some tweets about it last night, I noticed that it was filling up social networks. There were people on MySpace, on Facebook, on Twitter talking about this. So we've been reaching out to some of the people who watch this news while they're on the internet. One of them is Erica Turner. She's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What's your reaction to the charge you read and talked about on some of these blogs, that we in the media shouldn't be covering this because Chris is black?
I disagree completely. I don't think this is a race issue or even an age issue. Intimate partner violence happens every day, and it happens to celebrity, it happens to rich people, it happens to poor people. It's just important that now that the message is out there, that we have a dialogue about this and we make awareness about it.
Erica Turner from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Professor Boyce Watkins from Syracuse University, who's written and spoken about this plenty. My pleasure to be able to talk to both of you.
Absolutely, buddy. Good talking to you again.
Likewise.